Hanoi is slowly becoming a metropolitan of the world, and in this area there's so many international cuisines that are right inside of the city center. Now in this episode of Fine Cuisine, we are going to discover a little bit of a taste of the international influence in Hanoi. And what's special is that Hanoi itself also influences that international cuisine. What international cuisine am I talking about? Guess. It's actually Israeli cuisine. There's something common between Israeli cuisine and possibly American food. It's the fusion of cultures. Israeli cuisine has evolved from elements of Jewish cuisine all over the world, and the ingredients often found in Middle Eastern and Mediterranean foods. Israel is an immigrant state. Hanoi may seem like a homogeneous society, but if you look closely, it's also an immigrant city. What immigrated to Hanoi? Food, of course. While I wait for my other immigrant Israeli guest, I will go ahead and buy some doner kebab, because I'm getting hungry. Oh, hi Shay, how are you?
I'm great.
Yeah, I was waiting for you, so I got a little bit hungry and I'm getting some doner kebab. Do you want one?
Yeah, sure.
Is doner kebab I know it says it's Turkish, but I know it's also available in Israel. Have you ever had something similar?
Yeah, in Israel we call it shawarma.
Shawarma.
It's very similar, although we'll sometimes make it with lamb and sheep. But the beauty of food in general is that everybody can have their own interpretation of the same dish.
Try a piece.
All right. Let me dig in.
Very rich.
That's a very Vietnamese thing about it, I guess.
So, Shay, tell me a little bit about how doner kebab is eaten in Israel.
It's next to falafel. It's probably the second most popular street food you can find.
And Israel is such, an immigrant culture. Is food an immigrant culture as well?
Yeah. We get the influence, because people sometimes think of Jews in Israel, just Jews that came from Eastern Europe, the Jews they see in America. But in Israel, there are African Jews, Indian Jews, even Asian Jews, all brought their own culture, their own food, and their own influences into Israel.
And how has that affected food?
It's a melting pot, as they say in America, but even more than in America, like New York, they're all Jews, so they all got starting to get married. And I guess in about a generation or two, the grandmother from one side, the grandmother from the other side met in the same kitchen and started mixing it.
That's great. Chef Shahar came to Hanoi several years ago. He was raised in the countryside of Israel, worked in America, and he's now in Hanoi running his own restaurant. He's a super busy man, but I managed to get him to spill some of his Israeli food secrets.
Cheers.
Cheers. Fresh.
So, fresh, refreshing.
Yeah. So why did you choose this Hanoi restaurant?
Every place got their own speciality, and this one is one of our favorites. It's open really late, and the beer is always fresh and cool.
What brought you to Vietnam? Did you come here because of the beer?
I've known about Vietnamese culture for America, and I've always been a big fan of the cuisine as a chef. And I took a while to travel the world and experience. And when I came to Hanoi, I fell in love with it so much that I figured out I must find a way to move here. I got a job, been working for different restaurants, doing consulting, and finally I decided to open my own restaurant, which is now in construction.
What is it about Hanoi that clicked for you?
I like the energy here. I like the openness. I like the creativity in the food, and it's just great to be part of that. And as a chef, I try to bring what I can to this country, training cooks, training chefs. In my restaurant, I always try to train them. Well, I'm learning a lot as well.
As an Israeli who has experienced Hanoi, I would really love for you to show me some parts of Israel in Hanoi.
Well, if you want, you can come over to my house tomorrow and I'll cook you a great meal.
Oh, Israeli meal?
Well, my interpretation at least of an Israeli food.
Sounds amazing. All right, I'd love to.
I'll see you tomorrow then.
Okay, so we'll finish this and then I'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Chuk So welcome to my kitchen.
Thank you for having me. So what are we having today?
We're gonna make my version of Israeli food. They're not necessarily the most traditional versions,
That's interesting.
but I prefer doing it with local Vietnamese ingredients, which I love. We're gonna make a rabbit tagine. Tagine is originally the name of the dish it used to be cooked in, but nowadays it really just means stew. We're gonna cook rabbit, and we're gonna use chai moi.
From what I know, rabbit is often not eaten in kosher meals, right?
Well, I don't care much personally for kosher food. First thing, Israel is not just Jews who live there. Also, while there are religious Jews in Israel, Israel is a modern country.
That's right.
And you can find any kind of food there, including a lot of things that would used to be frowned upon from kosher rules, but doesn't bother personally me.
I see. All right, so let's start. Dying to know the ingredients: green olives, rabbit meat, cured lemons, which can be replaced with Vietnamese salted lemon, lemon juice.
The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to joint the rabbit, cut it into its various pieces. It's almost the same as cutting chicken. So now we have the fillet, and we have the bone. The bone we're just going to boil a little bit for about 10 minutes so we don't lose the flavor. So this I'm going to make a paste.
All right.
It's what my grandmother would have called sofrito. Now, just add it there.
And how long do we fry it for?
I prefer frying the olives, which I feel gets much more flavor out of them, as opposed to just adding them to the stew later. Now we're going to add the rabbit straight into the sauce. Almonds. Now those are blanched white almonds, skinless. And I have the rabbit soup from before. Now this is a slow cook stew, so it takes. Now it's time to add the chai moi.
Yeah. Why are you smelling it?
I just enjoy the smell. What I'm doing here, you can see I'm carefully taking out the seed part.
And you're not going to use the seed part.
No, the seeds can make, especially when cooked.
It's bitter, right?
Exactly. I make salad dressings out of it, stews like I do here.
To the soup. Mint. Lemons are better than lime for the purpose of a salad, as it is less bitter. And of course, the chickpeas. Don't forget to chop the garlic.
Slowly to do what's called emulsify. To this we're going to add the dressing we just made. I'm not going to add all of it first, we'll see how much it needs. And I think this should be enough. I'm going to add what is to me one of my, let's say, secret ingredients.
Slice the secret ingredient, the lemon zest. Smell all that citrus.
So the next dish we're gonna make is called, maybe a little hard for Vietnamese to say, Shakshuka.
Shakshuka.
It's probably one of the easiest and most popular dishes for Israelis to cook. It's not considered fine dining, although some people do fine dining versions of it.
Yeah.
And some people joke that with 7 million people in Israel, there are maybe 7 million ways of cooking it.
Oh, wow.
Everybody has their own version and everybody believes their own version is the best.
slice those red peppers and infuse the spices in oil.
Because I'm using them dry is one of the reasons I'm frying them. It really brings out the flavors. You could smell it yourself. Now I'm going to add the peppers.
Add the peppers, red and the green.
Red and green.
There's a secret ingredient too.
Living in Vietnam, I can never say no to a little bit more fish sauce in my food. And now, after it's been frying for a little bit, I'm going to add the tomato juice to it. So I'm going to take some feta, a salty cheese. In Israel we call it Bulgarian cheese. And we're going to crumble it. Okay, now we're going to put this right over. Now I'm going to mix a little bit of the white of the egg into the sauce, but careful not to break the yolk.
Now that we have all the dishes ready, the foods are cooked, everything is served in bowls and plates, we are going to wait for this to be done, to all of the meat to be scooped out onto the plate, and then we're going to go right upstairs and enjoy some Israeli foods with a little bit of a taste of Vietnamese foods inside as well. So, all right.
All right.
Doesn't the table setup remind you of the Mediterranean meal by the sea? And the Vietnamese breeze adds to that feel too. Thank you, weather, for complimenting our food, even though we're right on top of a roof.
Dip it in there.
Can you see the breeze
that
blowing?
straight from the pot.
The foods that I'm trying are like the breeze of novelty to my taste buds.
And you can, instead of a fork with a knife, this is the way many Israelis will eat.
Looks amazing. Smells amazing.
And I hope tastes amazing.
So you've used fish sauce for your Shakshuka dish. Are you planning to use any other Vietnamese ingredients in your future creations?
One of the things I'm going to do with my new restaurant is that we're going to have a new menu every week. And I'm going to close every Monday, go to the market, see it all around, take it back with me, experiment, and who knows what I will come up with it.
What I really love about all the dishes here today is that the spices are really strong, and at the same time, the meats are really cooked well, and all the flavors are blended in together, and at the same time, you can taste each flavor individually. And the freshness of each of the dishes, I think, can suit the Vietnamese taste very well during the summer, during the spring. And so that's it for this episode of Fine Cuisine. Thank you for joining me to discover Israeli food, and I hope that you will join me next time. And who knows, maybe we'll get to see Shay again to see what new discoveries or what new dishes he has for his menu at his new restaurant that's opening soon. So, see ya!